Hi guys, it's Sonia here with Sci-Fi Adventures, and I want to thank you for joining me for this video. I have been sharing my story Time Tracks, and we are on chapter 1, When Destiny Calls. And in the last video, we did leave off with Daniel breaking their engagement and Sophia leaving Daniel at the picnic table. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick up in the story right there. Sophia noticed a sign for an unfamiliar trail and her heart skipped a beat. What in the world was happening? Her knees buckled at the unbelievable sight in front of her. It seemed she was heading towards the impossible, a glacial valley ending at the base of a massive mountain. She stopped open-mouthed as wisps of a faint blue mist curled their way around the mountain. The sky above was full of big white billowy clouds, lazily easing their way across the mountain's massive shoulder. And as Sophia watched, she was quite certain that she had never seen anything so beautiful or terrifying in her life. Sophia knew that Asbury Park had no such mountain, not to mention the fact that the entire season seemed to have changed in an instant. She began to perspire in the blaze of the hot afternoon sun and quickly shed the anorak jacket. And as she breathed in the intoxicating scent of wildflowers, Sophia shook her head in disbelief. Surely there could be no doubt that the season was now impossibly well into summer. Needing to think, she stopped walking and began pacing back and forth across the trail while nervously chewing at her lower lip. She was beginning to doubt herself, and she wondered now if she really had gone into shock back at the pavilion and was actually having some kind of dissociative dream or crazy hallucination. If she thought her world had ended when Daniel broke off their engagement, that experience seemed minor compared to what she was facing now. Longing to be back in the security and comfort of her familiar apartment, Sophia looked at her wristwatch, stricken to see that the usually reliable watch appeared to have stopped working altogether. It was as though her wish back at the park pavilion for time to stop had actually come true. Stifling a sob, Sophia looked in the direction of the mountain. It no longer looked majestic or beautiful to her. Instead, it seemed imposing and uncaring, and in her desperation, she cried out loud, "Please, God, help me." Sophia had not prayed often in her life, but if ever there was a time for prayer, surely it was now. Somehow, even in her distress, she had the presence of mind to notice a big white rock on the side of the trail. Oddly, she had not seen it before, and at the sight of it, she realized just how weak and shaky she was feeling. She sat gingerly down on the rock and lowered her head into her hands, fighting off the impulse to cry uncontrollably. She was scared, more scared than she had ever been in her life, and yet instead of crying, she surprised herself by bowing her head and once again pleading for help. "God, if you can hear me, please help me." The moments ticked by slowly and painfully for what seemed an eternity to Sophia as she sat there helplessly on the rock, until suddenly and miraculously she heard a voice. Okay guys, that's it for this installment of Time Tracks. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you are enjoying the story. And be sure to stay tuned for more of Time Tracks and more of Sci-Fi Adventures.